Pride. One word, one syllable, infinite meanings. To many, it means a feeling of deep satisfaction, but to me, it sparked a period of personal growth. Imagine growing up only to have the world be against you. I remember being such a small boy, not even old enough to construct my own beliefs, trying to figure out right from wrong based on society's ideals. As I grew older, I grasped a feeling uh, of rejection and felt as if I was being put on a pedestal only to be knocked down. These feelings engulfed my life, and my perception of the pride I once always had was completely changed. I no longer felt like I belonged because of the continuous ridiculing and negative connotations towards who I was as an individual. This was an obstacle I knew I would have to overcome in order to feel confident in walking in my own shoes. Unsettling questions filled my brain, such as why was I the way I was? In order to suppress these thoughts, I pleaded to God, who I always had faith in, hoping he would be able to change me. I grew deeper in my faith, strictly to cover up the thought of ruining my life forever. However, my only wish never came true. I began to resent my pride and repress the thought of accepting who I was as an individual. I became emotionless and felt as if I was alone, even though I knew I was not alone. As time went on, the hopelessness that I once had did seem to change. I began to realize that I was unique and that was okay. It was August 10th, 2018, just an ordinary Friday night when I realized the time is now and it would soon change. Standing in my kitchen, the next couple of minutes would change my life forever. It was time to express the secret I was so exceptionally afraid to admit. As I stood in my kitchen, I noticed my family who were sitting at the kitchen table. My heart began to beat faster and faster, faster than my brain could even process. I began to pace back and forth from my fridge to my stove, trying to calm my nerves, but nothing was working. Meanwhile, my family didn't even notice my presence. They were too busy having a conversation about whether or not we should have my mom's homemade enchiladas or whether we should go out for dinner. Of course, on any other night, I would have loved to express my fondness for my mom's homemade enchiladas. They were amazing. But at that very moment, I wanted to vomit thinking about the thought of food. There was no way I could go through with what I was about to do. Finally, I grasped all the courage I had and started walking towards the kitchen table. Step by step, I felt more emotions than I ever did before. I wanted to scream, cry, and laugh all at the same time. The suffering inside my body was ready to escape, and I was ready to be set free. I no longer wanted to be confined into a box that falsely categorized who I was as a person. I knew that changing myself was no longer an option, and I could not bear to strain my mental health any longer. It was time to show the world who I really was. It was time to show them that I was different, a good different. I continued towards the kitchen table, coming to an abrupt halt. It was time for me to be me. As soon as my family noticed my presence, I whispered under my breath, "I have something to tell you." I could tell eagerness was spilling out of them, and they truly didn't know what to expect. They really thought the worst of the worst, and had no idea what I was about to say next. A couple seconds passed, and they all sighed with relief when they heard the words that came out of my mouth, and I exposed myself to the world. I will never forget the looks on their faces when I said the words, "I'm gay." Of course, I tried to alleviate the situation and calm them down by saying, if you needed time to process things, or if you didn't understand at that very moment, that it was okay. And I kind of felt bad for them, which was probably not what I should be feeling. But to my surprise, they reacted in a way I had never thought they would react before. The next few words that came out of my mom's mouth was something that stuck with me forever. She told me, never be ashamed of your true identity because people love you for being you. This is something that stuck in my heart, and I will never forget how accepting she was to me. Those 5 minutes completely changed my life forever, and not only changed how I viewed the world, but my family viewed the world. It showed me that people accept you for being you. Although everyone has a different story, don't be afraid to show the world who you are. Authenticity is not something to be afraid of, and you shouldn't be ashamed for that. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Have pride and don't be afraid to show that." Thank you.